Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about some comments that Eric Grubner made recently. Comments that we don't like at all. So we're going to get into that, kind of have a little reaction on some what he said. Now, also tomorrow, we're going to have an episode out talking about the corner outfield free agent options. So we'll have those two for this week. Next week, hopefully there's some more news. It was just released that Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, basically the rest of the starting pitchers, specifically left-handed starting pitchers, if we're talking Padres, they're going to wait till the new year to sign. There's probably going to be no one signing in the next couple of days, so there's not a lot of free agent stuff, but it seems like it might pick up after the new year. So at least that's encouraging from an entertainment standpoint, from kind of seeing who the Padres go after, because it's been a pretty quiet offseason. Like honestly, dude, like outside the Dodgers moves, like overall for the whole league, it's been pretty quiet. And there's a lot of guys that are still available, kind of like a lot of the top guys too at the position. So there's a lot of shuffling that's still going to be done. But going into these comments, we saw this. I think it was 2 days ago. We're recording this on Thursday night, but we saw this comment the other day, and I want to focus on kind of the bottom part. If a fan fell asleep 3 years ago and woke up to see the caliber of players we had under long-term contracts, they would be pretty surprised. Even if it might seem lower than some fans expect, it still is significantly higher than it has historically been. Now, Isaac, I don't remember if you remember us talking about this, but this is a couple weeks ago. We were telling people, why would you ever compare the Padres to the 2017, 2018, 2019 Padres when you can compare them to the rest of the MLB? And here we have the Padres organization basically going out and doing exactly that. So I'm concerned, dude. This is a gut punch for me. Like, okay, we're not winning. Well, hey, it's better than it used to be. That's almost verbatim what he's saying. And that is an insane thing to say. And before people are like, well, he's right. He is right. I'm not disagreeing that he is right. But that shouldn't be the goal of the organization, to be better than you used to be. The goal is you're competing against 29 other teams. Imagine if the Phillies said this, or the Dodgers said this, or the Yankees said this, or any of these top market teams. And I brought up to Isaac, even if the Giants said this, dude, it would be the fans would be outraged. So I think this is a pretty insane comment to have. But Isaac, what were your takeaways from it? Because I thought this had a pretty significant I don't know, like my thought to it was like, this is a really significant comment that probably isn't going to get talked about enough. I know a lot of people saw it and were like, whoa, this is crazy. But I don't think it's going to get like widespread like other like statements do, especially player oriented.
Yeah, just because the statement is right. He's correct. It's better than 3 years ago. Just because the statement was right doesn't mean that it was the right statement to make. It was really stupid. I thought the comment was super stupid. Why are you going to compare why are you going to compare the 2024 version of the Padres to the 2020, 2019, 2021 version of the Padres? It makes no sense. You're not playing the 2019 version of the Padres or the 22. You're not playing yourself from 3 years ago. You're playing the other 29 MLB teams that are also trying to compete for a World Series. I mean, maybe not if you're the Pirates, but or the A's, teams like that. But you're trying to compete and go out there and win a World Series. So, no, I'm not taking the whole it's better than it used to be. Oh, you're basically saying you guys because better than it used to be. No, we're not spoiled. We're the city of San Diego is hungry for a winner. Padres are hungry for a winner. You see it in the numbers when it comes to attendance. Despite having lower capacity than the two teams ahead of us, which were the Dodgers and I forgot the other team, but despite having lower capacity, still third in the MLB in attendance. If you take capacity into consideration, second in the MLB in attendance. Maybe that was the thing before, Juan Soto, Xander Bogaerts, Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, before they came over. Maybe that wasn't the case in San Diego. Not like they weren't showing up, but they didn't give us a reason to show up. But either way, you could tell that we're hungry for a winner. We want to go out there. We want to go have fun Echo, knowing that, hey, we have one of the best teams in the MLB. And the corresponding moves, along with the statement, have kind of shown us, hey, we don't know if we plan on being one of the best teams in the MLB. We don't know if we're going to be one of the best teams in the MLB, but it's better than what we used to be. But that doesn't matter to me. I don't care if you're better than you used to be. I want you guys to make playoffs. If you're better than you used to be, you could say the same about last year. Hey, better than what we used to be. Would you consider that a successful season? No, because you didn't make the playoffs. You had one of the most historic failures in the MLB history. So yeah, it's better than it used to be, but no, it's still a failure. It's like saying, I got a 50 on my last math test, but this time I got a 65. You still failed. You still didn't do much. Like sure, it's an improvement, but it's not what you want. It's not the improvement you want. And so that's a very disappointing statement to hear from Eric Gruner. And no, I think they absolutely deserve criticism for statements like that. Because why would you say that? Why would you say, hey, we're better than what we used to be? When are you better than Dodgers? No. Are you better? Are you even better than Diamondbacks? Probably not. How about the Phillies? No. The Phillies definitely not. You're not competing against yourself. You're competing against the teams that made the playoffs ahead of you last year. So it's a very disappointing statement from Eric Gruner, and it's something that I hope kind of be resolved through the moves that we make. But you trade one, so you trade, and not Grisham's any good, but trade without a back plan. You have Tim Hill walk to Chicago for the same amount of money he was going to make in San Diego. And granted, Tim Hill is not the biggest loss in the world, but you're already low on left-handed relievers, on lefties in general, and you let him walk a team getting the same amount as you were going to give him. That's ridiculous. That's horrible. So I don't know their plan, man. It's a very confusing time right now to be a Padres fan, but that was one of the stupidest comments, and that was a long time ago.
Yeah, and it's just very strange. Like I don't know, like and it just makes me question, like, okay, what's the direction moving forward? Because that's my biggest concern. Is like, all right, well, we see where they're at. Like, they're not really making many moves, and that's what makes it even more concerning. Where it's like, Isaac, you brought up, you just had one of the all-time most historic failures of a season, and to have that corresponding, and obviously a lot of stuff's happened this offseason, but you trade Juan Soto, and then you go, why are these fans ungrateful? Is it because we didn't make the playoffs in one of the most, disappointing seasons ever? No. It's because it's just because you're ungrateful because it used to be better than it was. It's better than it used to be. It's like, dude, what? What? Usually, Isaac, you brought up the attendance numbers. Pekka was packed every night. We were packed for losses over and over and over again, man. Like, dude, like that. I don't know. That's just a crazy thing to say, and it makes me question what the direction moving forward is. That's the part I'm afraid about. It's like, okay, what is that going to be? Is that going to be something where they don't make many moves? Because we're already kind of seeing it. It's like, okay, they don't bring back Tim Hill. They're apparently not in on Blake Snell. They have a very incomplete roster. They go into next year with a very incomplete roster. It's like our guys, that's over. Like it might be like that. It might actually be that serious, which sucks, dude. Like I don't want to see that. I want to see them continue to spend money, continue to go after good players. And yes, they have some good players on the roster, but they have an incomplete roster. So we have to see what they do. And that's what we've been patient. Like, are they screwed? Maybe not yet. Let's see what happens. But these comments are not encouraging. So that's what I'm kind of afraid. And I don't know. What do you think about like the just where they're at from a roster standpoint now? Like this concerns you, right?
It's even worse. It's much worse. Your catchers tandem is now Luis Campusano and Kyle Higashioka instead of. I truly feel like Gary Sanchez would be perfect to bring back, and hey, maybe it costs you a little bit of money, but Gary Sanchez and Luis Campusano were a perfect tandem when it came to DH and catcher, and that's something that I want back in our lineup. You can still keep Kyle Higashioka, however the hell you say his name, I don't know, but you can still keep him. He can still be the second catcher, but ideally you want Luis Campusano and the Thumpers in your lineup, and that hasn't been done yet. We haven't heard anything on Blake Snell, and if the Padres are in conversation with Blake Snell, we haven't heard anything on any pitchers. If I'm being honest, I haven't heard much about the Padres being in on any pitchers, let alone star pitchers. I haven't heard them being in on any outfielders. Like, granted, I don't need to hear it that they're going to be in on these players, but I just want to know that they're at least trying, because right now this is a very incomplete roster, and it just feels like they're going to pick up the scraps from whatever's left in the free agency pool. And keep in mind, like, there was a statement made that kind of felt like that, where they said, "Yeah, we're just kind of waiting on the market to cool off because prices are really high right now, and we want to wait for the prices to kind of come down." Dude, who's gonna be left? Oh, I don't know if I'm still here. Granted, we don't need more stars, right? We don't need Cody Bellinger. We don't need guys like that. We just need better players than the guys that you plan on bringing up. Who are you going to bring? Jackson Merrill and Jacob Marcy? I mean, not that they're bad players, but are they ready? We don't know that. It's a bad roster, if I'm being honest. It's a bad roster. Sure, Ha-seong Kim is good. Fernando's good. Xander's probably going to be good again this year. Manny injured, but he's good. Who else is there? There's Joe and Yu Darvish.
Injured Yu Darvish.
Injured Yu Darvish. What else? What else is there? Right?
Have you seen the roster, the opening day roster last year, and the names that get crossed out of it? Have you actually seen like how few names are the same? It's like it's the exact name, like the few names you mentioned right there, and like a couple, like almost none of the relievers, very few of the starters. Like it's very few of the players. It's actually nuts.
And don't get me wrong, substitutions have been somewhat good for some of the substitutions have been good for the Padres. Losing Nick Martinez for the amount of money he made in Cincinnati, blessing. I did not want him back, even if he made the lesser amount of money that was like what, $8 million. I didn't want him back for $8 million. Trading Scott Barlow for De Los Santos, that was a good move. But granted, it just feels like a very incomplete. It doesn't feel like it. It is a very incomplete roster. And, like we talked about in the Are the Padres Effed video, we're going to know if they are come February or March. As of right now, yeah, they are. This is not a good. I mean, you traded a superstar for a middle of the pack rotation, it feels like. So I'm not sure what's a fee. And especially after a comment made by Eric Grupner, dude, the odds of any of your fans being in a 3-year coma are slim to none. So that was a really stupid thing to say. But I sure hope that the Padres are able to make some moves where we're saying, hey, this looks like a team that can compete. Will they beat the Dodgers in the regular season? Maybe not. But you just got to get to the dance. We've seen it time and time again. The teams that have gotten to the dance to face the Dodgers have beat them, including us. And granted, we're not trying to, build a roster to take them down specifically. We're trying to build a roster to get us through the season and get to the dance, whether it be against the Phillies, the Braves, the teams that we know are going to be in the playoffs. But usually, whatever team ends up going has to go through the team up north. So that's why I bring them up. But that comment was, again, very discouraging.
Yeah, and we'll see. So thank you guys all for listening. We will do corner outfield options tomorrow. So have a good night, and hopefully these comments are not a sign of things to come, because it's just kind of depressing, man. Like I want to see them good, dude. I want to see them be good. I feel like people have been upset because we've been critical lately, but it's like, what are we supposed to do? Lie? Like, no, dude. We want them to be good. We want to be like, hey, this is what they should do. This is what they should do. So that's what we'll talk about tomorrow a little bit. We'll get into some of the names, but thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to y'all then.